Okay, you're live.
Okay, we're on and raring to go?
Yes.
All right. Welcome to the June 21st, 2021 City of Scottsdale Audit Committee meeting. I want to welcome everyone who is joining us online today. This meeting, which is being held virtually, is also being broadcast on the city's YouTube channel for the public to be able to listen to our meeting. Also, as noted on our posted meeting agenda, written and spoken comments can be submitted using the links provided on the agenda. Spoken comments are allowed on the agenda action items. Written comments may address agendized or non-agendized matters. We have asked that any public comments be submitted at least 90 minutes in advance of this meeting. Committee members and others are joining today through Zoom to participate in the meeting, and I want to remind participants of a few housekeeping items. When you are not speaking, please mute your device so we won't have the background noises. If you would like to make a comment, please wait for a pause to unmute and speak, or use the hand raise feature at the bottom of the Zoom screen. The chat feature at the bottom of your screen is for technology-related questions, such as letting us know that your mic or sound is not working. Please do not send meeting-related questions using that feature. Now I will ask staff to do a roll call vote, and then we will move to our regular agenda. Thank you.
Chair Kathy Littlefield.
I'm here.
Councilmember Tom Durham.
Here.
Councilwoman Solange Whitehead.
Here.
Thank you. We move on now to our regular agenda items. Our first item on the agenda is public comment. Sharon, do we have any comments or requests for spoken comments that are submitted?
We did not receive any comments, and so Shelby, you can go on to the next agenda item.
Okay, next agenda item is the approval of the minutes. Audit committee members, do you have any requested corrections, or may I have a motion for approval of the regular minute meetings of April 19th, 2021?
I'll make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of April 19th, 2021.
In a second.
I'll second the motion.
Shelby, would you please take a roll call vote?
Chair Littlefield.
Yes.
Councilmember Durham.
Yes.
Councilwoman Whitehead.
Yes.
Motions are approved. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is the discussion and possible direction to staff regarding the library board sunset review. Our presenter this afternoon is Brad Hubert.
Good afternoon, Chair Littlefield and members of the Audit Committee. As you have received the information, you'll see that the library board's purpose is to advise the city manager through the city council on general policy relating to library operations. These are advisory recommendations, they're not binding. We have attached a copy of the library board's most recent annual report for calendar year 2020, along with the two previous annual reports for calendar years 2019 and 2018. And as stated in the resolution, the audit committee is to evaluate whether the board or commission being reviewed is serving its intended purpose, whether the board or commission purpose should be maintained or modified, and whether that purpose has been served or is no longer required. And specifically, we ask that the audit committee recommend to city council whether to continue or to terminate the board or commission. Appearing today on behalf of the library board is its chair, Sheila Raymond. Also, Kira Peters, who is the city's community services administrator, and Amy Herring, who is the staff coordinator for the library board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do the audit committee members have any questions or comments regarding this board?
This is Tom Durham. I do get quite a few emails on when the library plans to sort of reopen to the public and get back to normal operations. So I'd be interested in hearing what the plans are on that.
Thank you. Board Member Durham. And I should have asked the board representatives to speak first because I'm sure they have something on that. So would a board representative like to make some comments or share any of that kind of information with us?
Councilwoman Littlefield, this is Kira Peters. Can you hear me okay?
I can, thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. Yes, I can respond to that question. We are actually having a phase 1 reopening plan for the public library system that we are working on right now. So once we get into this new fiscal year, we are looking to expand our library operations. So that is going to be happening shortly.
Excellent. Any other comments?
Well, what would this phase 1 reopening entail?
The phase 1 reopening right now, we have proposed to open Arabian Library, a modified open of Arabian Library, which has been closed since the onset of the pandemic, and to expand hours of operation at our flagship library, Civic Center.
What about the other libraries?
Right now, Appaloosa Library is available to the public using the new technology, Open Plus and the Pony Express, so people can have access to that library. And Mustang Library is also open right now for people to come in and visit in person. So really, the only library branch that is truly closed is Arabian. However, the public does have access to that library via the drive-through service, as we do at all of our other branches as well.
And is there an issue with not having enough staff to go back 100%? Or what issues do you have?
Sure, Councilman, that has been the issue for this fiscal year, because as I'm sure you know, everybody's been offering at reduced staffing levels and reduced budget, reduced personnel. So we're still operating under those parameters right now. But again, as we get ready to get into the new fiscal year where our resources will be back, we are going to be able to recruit and hire. And we've been given direction to do that thoughtfully and slowly, as we expand and bring staff back. So that's exactly what we're doing. So hopefully this phase 1, we'll get a branch that's been closed open, we'll expand at Civic Center. And then from there, we do hope to eventually get back to, I don't want to say all the way that it was prior to COVID, but more where all of our branches system-wide are open to the public.
Okay, thank you. I think it's evidence of how much the library is valued that many people are anxious to have it back to normal. So it does speak well of the reputation that the library has in the community, that people miss it so much. So thank you.
Yep, you're very welcome. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Board Member Durham. And I think you're absolutely right. Our library has worked really hard to keep what services they could open and going in spite of COVID this year. It's been tough, I know, but as I've watched them do it, I think they're all looking forward to a time when we can be fully open to our citizens and fully responsive as we were before. I think you're right. It's a testament to how good they are that people miss them so much. And it's wonderful to be able to look about opening up and not closing down. So I am very excited. And I'd like to say, I think you've done a wonderful job during this very, very difficult year. Councilwoman Whitehead, did you have any comments you wanted to make?
No, but I appreciated the discussion.
All right. Then may I have a motion to recommend to City Council either the continuation of or the termination of the library board?
I'll make a motion to continue the library board.
And a second. We have a motion and a second. Shelby, would you please make a roll call vote for us?
Chair Littlefield,
Yes.
Councilmember Durham,
Yes.
Councilwoman Whitehead.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. Thank you very much. And thank you all for coming and being here with us this afternoon to answer our questions and to give us the update. Appreciate it. The next item on our agenda this afternoon is the discussion and possible direction to staff regarding audit number 2106, which is network security audit. We have today Leigh Clough, Senior Auditor.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Littlefield and members of the Audit Committee. For this year's information technology audit, we contracted for a network security audit. The last such audit was completed 6 years ago in 2015. The objective for this audit was to evaluate the effectiveness of the city's network security controls. We contracted with an independent IT audit consultant, Barry Dunn, to perform this specialized work. After initial interviews and assessment, the scope of Barry Dunn's testing and analysis was refined to include external vulnerability scanning and penetration testing, server configuration assessment, and IT governance controls review. They performed technical assessments and testing in February 2021 and the IT governance review in March of 2021. In its review of IT governance, Barry Dunn made recommendations to formalize configuration and security standards and roles and responsibilities between IT and other departments' technology groups. They also recommended the IT department prioritize the completion and testing of its disaster recovery and business continuity plan and assess department resource allocated to security function. While Barry Dunn's technical review found no critical issues at the time of its testing, certain recommendations were made to enhance and mature the security of the city's network and technology assets. The detailed results of the audit were reported to the City Auditor and the IT department in a separate confidential report. This information is not detailed in the public report due to its sensitive nature. We are available to answer any questions the Audit Committee may have. And with us on the meeting today for questions and comments is Robert Fisher, the Acting Chief Information Officer. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd just like to say that also that the IT department, according to our report that we received, has agreed with the recommendations made by the security audit and are already in taking corrective actions as necessary, and those are all underway at this time. Robert Fisher, Acting Chief Information Officer, would you like to make a comment and tell us more about what's happening?
Yes, Chair Littlefield, thank you. As you already, or as Leigh already commented, we have reviewed the findings that were submitted to us. And as you mentioned, we do agree with the results, and we are actively working on the resolutions. We have probably a third of those items identified already resolved or almost resolved, and we have plans to work on the remaining items with the departments. Several items were related to governance, and those will take a little bit longer for us to get the structure put in place, but we are active on those as well. And we look forward to maturing our security stance moving forward.
Do you have any timeline or estimate on how long it will take you?
So there were two main action plans given to us. The first one that was identified had 4 sections, and we should have those complete by the end of the calendar year. The second action plan will take a little bit longer because we have some of the systems spread throughout the city that are in the process of being replaced as part of the Bond 2019 project. And until those aging systems are replaced, we cannot fully commit to having the issues resolved. So they won't be completed until December of 2022, but most of those are bond projects that are already underway. They're just large implementations. And so it's going to take a little bit for some of the departments to get their systems upgraded and replaced.
Okay, thank you. Do I have any questions from the committee?
Well, I was happy to see this item on the agenda because this is, especially over the last 2 or 3 weeks, this is an item that obviously concern anybody responsible for Scottsdale who's been watching the news. I guess just from a layman's perspective, what I understand is one of the keys to this is having very good backups. And do we have that type of situation? Are we confident that we have the backups which would allow us to survive any kind of an attack? And am I right about that, with the backups, having the backups are the key?
So we do have a good backup architecture in place. We have been working as part of a capital improvement project that was implemented probably about 4 years ago to develop an alternate recovery site and have the foundations for the infrastructure recovery there already in place. And as part of the disaster recovery plan, we are working with the departments moving forward to get their applications so they can be fully recoverable as well. We have many IT security tools already in place related to cybersecurity, which was an item you mentioned. And while backups are part of that, it's also a matter of some of the other tools and contracts that we have in place with outside vendors to make sure that our environment's secured and protected against any cyber attacks.
Good, because I know, and I reported it to our computer technology department, but I know that we did have some leaks and some probes because I would get them in my emails and stuff, people just seeing if they could find a way in. So it's kind of scary in that respect. Are there any other comments or questions?
But yeah, I have a question, and I guess it kind of ties into what Councilman Jones said, and I'm also a layperson, but I can tell you my husband's company that does, I think they do backups twice a day. I mean, it's quite frequent. So the poor ransom company got money from them when they got attacked because there was nothing that they didn't have access to. So that was going to be my question, is how, I don't know if you want to talk about how often, but that did seem to be the key, was that if there's backups, there's nothing to be, there's no danger to the city.
We do have backups ongoing, and we do have a good backup system for our critical data sources, as well as redundancy in that system as well.
And then one other quick question. When somebody leaves, now granted, everybody that I have witnessed retire is leaving on extremely good terms, but I notice sometimes that the email addresses are not turned off immediately. Is that, do you have a policy? And I don't know if there's a danger in that. It does seem like if somebody retires on a Friday, that email probably should deactivate at that point. What are your thoughts on that?
Their accounts are usually disabled the day they do leave. So we are notified, and their accounts are actually disabled. In many cases, those accounts might exist in a business continuity hold situation or a litigation hold situation. And so their email accounts are still active. Typically, if an account is going to be left active, we do have a out of the office message or something like that put in place, but those accounts from actually being used to log in and for someone to try to do something with those credentials, those are disabled immediately when someone leaves the city.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That's good to know. Are there any other questions or comments? Then may I have a motion to accept audit number 2106, network security, as submitted?
I will move to accept audit number 2106, network security audit as submitted.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Shelby, would you please make a roll call vote?
Chair Littlefield,
Yes.
Councilmember Durham,
Yes.
Councilwoman Whitehead.
Yes.
Motion carries. The audit is accepted. Thank you. And thank you very much for answering all our questions. Appreciate it. Next on the agenda is discussion and possible direction to staff regarding audit number 2109, housing rehabilitation and the repair programs. Our presenter tonight will be Kyla Anderson.
Thank you, Chair Littlefield and members of the Audit Committee. This audit was conducted to evaluate the effectiveness of the city's housing rehabilitation and repair programs. These programs are intended to assist income-qualified homeowners in maintaining their existing housing, encourage green building principles in housing revitalization, and support residents in remaining in their neighborhoods. Audit work found the following areas for improvement. Green housing rehabilitation projects should document alignment with program guidelines. Those include providing cost-effective improvements to minimize environmental impact and reduce energy consumption while contributing to the health of the home occupants, addressing any structural deficiencies that fail to meet or will soon fail to meet City Building Code or Section 8 housing quality standards, and providing special devices and ramps for the elderly and disabled. Current evaluation tools do not effectively measure whether the project's repair or the project's repair or rehabilitation needs are within program guidelines. Additionally, program staff dropped an applicant from the waitlist for 17 months, and records are unclear about how the error was identified, when it was corrected, and whether it delayed assistance to the applicant. The Community Assistance Office's procurement processes can be improved. Program staff recruit potential contractors only from recommendations of participating homeowners, other contractors, or similar program staff in other cities. Further, the solicitation method for low-cost projects of stating it's a direct or non-competitive selection may result in higher costs. We also reviewed 15 change orders over the audit period, and on 4 occasions, the department allowed a change order that authorized work that was already included in the original scope of work. In these instances, the duplicate work only totaled $1,600, but change order review procedures are not sufficient to avoid unnecessary costs. And finally, additional communication methods may improve emergency repair program outreach. From July 2018 through March 2021, 25 of 85 homeowners received emergency assistance multiple times. Additional communications could improve eligible city residents' awareness of the availability of this program. At this time, we can answer any questions that you might have. Also, we have Greg Bestian, the Human Services Director, and Irma Hollenby, the Community Assistance Manager, available for questions as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any questions regarding this audit?
Perhaps both parties can just go provide the committee with more information on the programs and your thoughts on the audit.
Yes. Kyla?
Oh, I'm sorry, I meant Greg question.
Yes, hi, this is Greg Bestian. Thank you very much for the question. Yes, we would be very happy to provide more information about the details of the various programs. And so Irma and I can work together to get that to you just as soon as possible.
Okay, I'd like to just make a comment about it. This is a program that I believe, especially now, is extremely important to our citizens. I think it's more important than ever before due to the COVID, the loss of jobs, the fluctuation of income, housing problems, and there's more people in need in Scottsdale. So this particular program, I think, steps up in importance to what it was before, just because there is so much assistance that is needed right now as we pull out of this COVID and get our feet back on the ground. People need to know about the program. I thought that was the biggest problem that I saw, that we're not advertising it to the point where everybody knows about it, because we're having to do so many repeats. Not necessarily bad to do that, but we need to expand our awareness to all of our citizens that this is available and that we can go out and possibly help them with some of their housing needs. I think that's one of the biggest areas that I saw that we needed to work on, and maybe, putting notes in the water bills or any other on the, online front and center and things like that would be something that could work toward helping folks to be able to reach out and at least be able to ask. So thank you.
Councilwoman.
Yes.
Go ahead, Greg, sorry.
Yes, thank you, Councilwoman Littlefield. Yes, we've actually, Ms. Hollenby and I have talked about this, and Ms. Hollenby, if you wanted to add anything additional to that, but I do agree that at this critical time, this is certainly a program that could really benefit a lot of folks that might not have otherwise heard about the program. Anything else to add, Ms. Hollenby?
Hi, good afternoon. This is Irma Hollenby. And so Chair Littlefield and committee members, I just wanted to say yes. So we agree wholeheartedly that our programming in the Community Assistance Office does need and require additional views from the people out there who actually need the assistance. So thank you for those comments. We have reviewed the findings and the recommendations for improvement. All of them were very excellent, very thoughtful, and we concur with all of them, and we're actively working towards resolution. Our plans do include hard timelines to complete these items. We anticipate full resolution by December of 2021, and we look forward to delivering flawless community development programming that meets your expectations.
All right, thank you. Are there any other comments?
This is Tom Durham. I think the memo explained that for the green housing rehabilitation projects that I think 50% of the loan was forgivable after 3 years, if I remember correctly. What are the terms for the emergency repair projects and the roof repair and replacement projects? Are there similar forgiveness? Is that a loan that's forgiven after time, or what are the terms of those?
Committee Member Durham, this is Irma. So with regard to the emergency repair and roof replacement program, I do not believe that there is money due back, but I will need to verify that 100% and return that comment to this committee.
This is Kyla. No, those are a grant. They're not a loan, so they do not need to be paid back.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Good point. I also had an idea on page 16 of this. We were talking about how to get word out and stuff like that. And I was wondering, is there a way that we could possibly look to our city itself and its television station and share success stories on the video or even on constant comment? Be sure, you get permission from the homeowners first, but I was thinking maybe if people could actually see what we do, if they're watching our station, that might help to get the word out. It was just a thought I had.
Yes, Councilwoman Littlefield, members of the committee. I just wanted to let you know that we do have a video that we did a couple of years ago that Chad Booker did on the various programs that we have through the housing rehab, and it's very well done. We could certainly update it, but we can get a link for all of you to take a look at that, just to kind of refresh your memory. But never, a couple of years go by and it's always good to get it updated and get some new stories. And actually Human Services will be working on more of these type of stories in the coming year with each of the managers in the different centers, but always great to do something like that, Councilwoman Littlefield. So thank you for the suggestion.
Thank you. Okay. Are there any other comments or questions?
Yes, I wanted to add, this is Councilwoman Whitehead. Thank you. And I couldn't agree more with what everybody said, Councilwoman Littlefield especially. I guess my initial question was more what wasn't for a later date, was more what kind of what can we do to enable your staff to do, I guess, better define the work from the green side. It seems to me that it was difficult for your staff. I just wonder if we have resources in the city that can help human service staff better define the projects, better evaluate if they're working, because that's a good idea to reduce people's energy bills. That's part of what can cause people to not be able to afford living in their homes. So I just wonder what we can do, what services you need, perhaps other staff, other groups that can help evaluate, or how do we do that better?
Yes, Councilwoman Whitefield, this is a great question again. So we would be very happy to work with Anthony Floyd in our green building area to just to kind of maybe just have more of a conversation and make sure that we can learn more from him and he can learn more about exactly what our program. So that would be kind of one of the first steps that I might suggest that we take.
Excellent idea. I don't know why I didn't think of him right away. Excellent. Okay, so let's make that happen. And then I agree again with what Chair Littlefield said, this is the time we keep people from falling into homelessness, from losing their places. So whatever we can do, penny wise, we don't want to be penny wise, pound foolish. We want to keep people in their homes. So keep doing what you're doing and get it out, get the word out there.
Yes, thank you.
This is Irma Hollenbein. Kyla, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that this is more concerning our measure aligning with our program guidelines as handed down to us by our funder, which is the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Well, it's just making sure that we are compliance with our own rules that we set out for this program.
So Kyla, if I remember correctly, they do have the guidelines that I believe that they worked with the cities, and now I'm not thinking of the name of the program, but Anthony Floyd, that they worked with that group to get the guidelines developed. It's just they don't have a checklist or anything that shows that the work being done is actually connected to those guidelines and what the program is for. That's where we were seeing the gap, is that the work wasn't being connected to the program guidelines that had been developed. Am I remembering that right, Kyla?
Yes, Sharon, that's correct.
Okay, well, I would just like to thank the department for what they do and for all the help that they have given us and our people and our citizens, because I know it's been tremendous and it's been much appreciated by those who are now staying in their homes because of the help that you've given them. So I appreciate that. And if there's no other comment, I would like to have a motion to accept audit number 2109, Housing Rehab and Repair Programs, as submitted.
So moved.
Is there a second? Shelby, would you please take a roll call vote?
Chair Littlefield,
Yes.
Councilmember Durham,
Yes.
Councilwoman Whitehead.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is approved. Thank you very much, all of you, for coming today and for your input and answering all of our questions. Next, I would like to move on to item number 5, discussion and possible direction to staff regarding report number 2111, annual follow-up on the status of the audit recommendations. Our presenter is Sharon Walker, City Auditor.
Chair Littlefield, members of the committee, the bar on the right of this chart is the one that's showing what the current status of audit recommendations is. Our database tracks about 200 audit recommendations, so about a 3-year history plus the current fiscal year. And I don't know if you can tell as easily, but the bar on the right shows that actually tremendous progress was made during this fiscal year in terms of implementing audit recommendations. The implemented, the blue section of the bar at the bottom, plus the kind of rust colored, plus the green, the in progress, those together cover 95% of the audit recommendations that are open. And in just the preceding year, those 3 statistics together were about 90%. So it's really a large improvement this year over the prior, even the prior 3 years, as you can see from the statistics that are shown there. Currently, there are 2 open audits, only 2 open audits actually, that have unresolved recommendations for more than 2 years. And those 2 audits were the ActiveNet application controls audit and then the infrastructure condition assessment. And both of those, the areas are still working on those recommendations. They just have some areas that remain to be resolved. So one look back that I like to do is looking back when I did the first follow-up status report in September 2009 and the current 95% for implemented, partly implemented, and in progress. The 95% for those 3 categories is about an 18% percentage point improvement over that very first time that we did a formal audit follow-up. It was 77% at the time. So like I said, tremendous progress. And I just want to highlight that despite all of the stresses that have come out of the pandemic, there's still been good work going on across all the areas of the city. So with that, I would be happy to take any questions that you might have about this report.
Are there any questions?
No, just want to say thank you to everyone involved.
Okay, well, I'll second that. Thank you for everything. And I guess when you can't get out, you do what you need to do inside. I think it's wonderful. I'm so glad to see this because these are all recommendations that make our city stronger and better. So could I have a direction to staff regarding report number 2111.
Sure.
I
Go ahead, Tom.
will move to accept report number 2111 as submitted.
I will second that.
Okay, Shelby, may we have a roll call vote?
Chair Littlefield,
Yes.
Councilmember Durham,
Yes.
Councilwoman Whitehead.
Yes.
Motion passes, and congratulations, Sharon. I think this is a great report. Moving on.
I think it's definitely very positive for management's action.
I think so.
Yes.
And okay, moving on to 6. Number 6, discussion and possible direction to staff regarding report number 2112, annual integrity line report. Again, our presenter is Sharon Walker.
So in the report that I provided with your agenda materials, there is some background information that's provided there. It's also addressed on the city's webpage on the integrity line page that we have. But instead of going over that, I'll just focus on this year's activity. So for the contacts that I received through the integrity line, again, the column to the far right for the current year, the 10 contacts that I received are approximately what we've received over the different years. There were a couple of things that I thought were interesting. One is that half of those contacts came through the web form, the form that anybody can fill out that's on the city's website. And so that shows that having that web page available is a good communication method. And then the other thing that I thought was interesting that I highlighted in this year's report, usually it's kind of difficult to tell what the source of the contact is from the information that was available this year. I could tell that at least 7 of those contacts actually came from members of the public. And so I think that's a good point to highlight too, that when folks have concerns that they think may be related to the city, that they're able to reach out and get in touch with the integrity line. So Shelby, if you'll go to the next. So this table in the report summarizes what the disposition of those concerns were. And in the 2019-20 column up at the very top, there were 3 items that were still open at the end of last year. And then plus the 10 that I received in this year. And that's why the column for 2021 shows the disposition of 13 items. So there are two concerns that I received that are still open items. I'm still reviewing those. This year, about half of the items the contacts that I received in, I referred to other departments that were appropriate for handling the particular type of issue, like revenue recovery, like Parks and Recreation and others. And so referred about half of those new items that were coming in. 2 of the concerns related to employee performance. One was based on needing to protect personally identifiable information. The other was based on just the timing of the way some business transactions were handled. Those issues were verified, were reported to management, and the management responses indicated that those concerns are being very appropriately addressed. So they were not items that I consider to be fraud or something that rose to a high level, but they were matters that needed to be addressed, and management is handling those or has handled those already. There were two concerns that I could not substantiate based on information that was available. And then the 2 concerns that are listed as no action, those were actually contacts that related to non-city matters. One was an HOA issue. The other was a state agency fraud issue, but the person who reported it to the integrity line, also in the information they provided, listed several other parties that they had reported the same issue to. And so among those were the appropriate state level contact, the police report. So that one, I took no action, but it had already been appropriately handled. So those are the highlights that I wanted to touch on for you with this particular report on the integrity line. And I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Do we have any questions?
Of the 5 that you listed for referral, do you follow up with the relevant department on those to see what they've done?
Yes, I do ask that they let me know how the matter is resolved. So when I refer something to revenue recovery, they've provided information back in terms of how they've addressed that delinquent account concern with the individual. And when I referred a matter to Parks and Recreation, the now former, the Parks and Recreation Director gave me an update in terms of how they addressed that particular concern, what was being done with that. So I don't just forward the matters into a dark hole. I do ask for them to let me know that the person has been contacted or how the matter is being addressed, just so that I know it's not just being set on a shelf.
I assume that was true, but
thank you for asking.
Do you know the identity of the people that call in or report?
The way that I have the integrity line contact set up, the web form, I have an email account, I have a phone number. The way that I have it set up, it's optional. The individual decides if they feel comfortable with providing contact information or not.
Okay.
And then on the website, I do explain that if they do provide contact information, it makes it easier in case I need additional information. It makes it more likely that I'll be able to address their concern.
Okay.
But most individuals choose to remain anonymous.
Okay, yeah, that was going to be my next question. If we're able to respond to them with an answer to what their question was.
Generally not, and that does make it challenging because there have been some times that I thought I could give the individual a referral to somewhere outside the city. When it's inside the city, at least I could pass along the information. But some of them needed to be referred outside the city, but I didn't have a way to get back in touch with the individual and help them make that connection.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Then may I have a motion to accept report number 2112, the annual integrity line report as submitted?
I'll move to accept the report as submitted.
I'll second that. Any discussion? Then Shelby, may we have a roll call vote?
Chair Littlefield,
Yes.
Councilmember Durham,
Yes.
Councilwoman Whitehead.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to our next item on the agenda this afternoon, we have discussion and possible direction to staff regarding proposed fiscal year 21-22 audit plan. The presenter again is Sharon Walker, our city auditor.
So this first page of the audit plan is the information that we covered during the previous meeting, the recurring audits or annual reports that we are required to do for a variety of reasons. For example, E-Verify is a state law that requires the city to check contractor compliance. So I'm not going to go over each of those items. The carry forward audits at the bottom of this page, we've also talked about during the previous meeting. So Shelby, if you'll go to the next. Thank you. So on this page, it's the second page of the proposed audit plan. What I've listed are the additional audits that I'm proposing that we include on the plan, and then 3 contingency audits. So the purchasing card controls audit I had mentioned, I had on this year's plan. The city's transitioning to a new system, and so I do want to carry that forward to the next year and get that audit done. We just simply did not get to it this year. received requests to do the destination marketing contract during the previous meeting. These are suggestions during the previous meeting and then other discussions that I've had with the city manager or others about potential audits. City clerk operations, it's been a long time since that we've looked at that office. Parks and Recreation, resource manager, management in terms of field and pool use, Westworld operations. They've made some changes in how they carry out their business. So taking a look at those changes. Those are what I have proposed as the additional audits for next year. That would bring us up to a possible total of 16 audits and reports. And then for contingency audits, at this point, we're still working on the current school district audit. And so I just put a placeholder there in contingency audits, not knowing if the district and the city council want to engage in another audit or not. So that's just on there as a possible placeholder. Victim services and risk management services were a couple of the other areas that were mentioned that we either have not looked at or have not looked at in a long time. And so I would be happy to answer any questions. These are the items that I have put together for the proposed 2021-22 audit plan.
Well, I have a comment that I'd like to make, and it regards your email to me regarding the SUSD audit, and that they are already receiving value from your audit work. Can you go into that a little bit?
Yes, I would be happy to. We're auditing one of their school construction bond projects right now, and knowing that they're just starting on the last 2 schools that are in their approved bond program, it only made sense to me that we should be giving them early feedback in terms of what we're seeing, what we think can be improvements, because I would certainly hate to give them an audit report in September of this year and have all of the contracts for those last 2 projects already let to where they've missed that opportunity to make some changes. And so I've been speaking with Dr. Menzel regularly every couple of weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, just to give him some heads up on, here are a couple of the things we're still looking at them. These are not, these are not cast in stone definite, but here are some areas that we're looking at, some things to be aware of. And during our last conversation last week, he mentioned that the school district feels like it's already getting value out of the audit services that they've contracted for, because it's been very helpful to them to be able to hear things that might help improve the contracts they're working on for these last 2 school bond projects.
Well, knowing how good you are, I don't doubt that at all. So I'm very glad to hear that. Thank you. Are there any comments from the rest of this committee?
I would say that is my staff. That's the sign of the expertise of my staff who carries the heavy load on this.
This is Tom Durham. On the prior page, there was something about an audit of the audit department. and is that performed? And I think you said it was going to be performed by the GAO. Is that the Arizona Government Accounting Office? Are they the ones who do that?
That is we're required by the charter and the city code to follow government auditing standards, which we would do anyway.
Yeah.
But part of that is having a review of our policies and procedures and how we conduct our work once every 3 years. And it's the Association of Local Government Auditors is the group, the association that we belong to. And so they assign team members from other cities, other states. They assign a couple of team members to come in and do a very thorough review of our policies, procedures, and then they actually sample some of our audit work, look at our audit work papers to see, are we following our policies and procedures and the standards? So it's the Association of Local Government Auditors.
Okay,
but it is according to standards that are set by the federal GAO.
Okay, so that was the reference.
That's where the GAO is. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, I don't believe that we need a vote on this. This is an update.
Yes, I do need the audit committee's approval so that then I can ask for the city council's approval.
Ah, okay. Well, then may I have a motion to approve the audit plan?
I move to accept the city auditor's proposed fiscal year 2021, 2022 audit plan.
And I will second that motion.
Would you please take a roll call vote, Shelby?
Chair Littlefield,
Yes.
Councilmember Durham,
Yes.
Councilwoman Whitehead.
Yes.
Motion passes. You have direction. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have updates, including the status.
And since we've talked about this before, I'll just be very brief. The 14 audits reports that we completed this year, the red line in the chart on the right, falls within the range of 13 to 15 reports audits that we usually complete. I have the prior years on there and kind of the pastel colors just to show what our usual pattern is. So even though we didn't finish the planned audits, we still did fall within our usual range of performance. So I'll just keep it brief at that and be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. It's been a tough year to go out and do audits, I have to admit. Yes.
Yes.
Are there any questions?
And we do not need a motion on this one.
I think that's what I was looking at. Okay, we'll move on then to our next item on the agenda, which is potential agenda items for our next audit committee meeting. Presenter is Sharon Walker.
So we have a couple sunset reviews that we're scheduled to do in August. And we also believe that we will have the economic development programs audit report ready for you by August. At the top of the draft agenda, I have tentative date. If there's any slippage, then our meeting would be in September, and I don't have the date in front of me, would be in September, but we will plan on the August 23rd for the next audit. Oh, September 20th, it's down at the bottom of the agenda, but we will plan on the August 23rd unless there's any slippage. And in that event, I would get out an update to the audit committee members so that they would know if that date changes. So we have a fairly brief agenda for our next audit committee meeting planned, and I would be happy to add any items to that the audit committee might suggest.
Do I have any comments or suggestions regarding the potential agenda for the next committee meeting?
No, not for me.
Hearing none, I think that's it.
It just occurred to me there's one other thing I did want to highlight. Up at the top of the agenda, I have location to be determined. As you know, starting with tomorrow's council meeting, city meetings will be opening back up to the public. And so as we get that location firmed up, I think the Kiva conference room, even with just my staff and then a few attendees and the committee, it gets kind of tight. So I'm going to figure out where's going to be a feasible place for us to hold that meeting. And so I'll be updating you on that as well as that plan develops.
Okay, yeah, I did have that on your email that you sent. Then I wanted to make sure that we brought up that we may not be remote next time. So we want to make sure that that's a possibility that we could put into our time frames. Is there any other business that should be brought before this audit committee at this time? Hearing none, I would like a motion and a second to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we are adjourned, and thank you all for being a part of this afternoon.
Thank you, Chair. And
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Sharon.